Hey, all you happy lost souls. How are y'all doing out there? If you're new to the channel, please subscribe if you find this type of stuff interesting. The channel touches on all kinds of stuff: philosophy, music, gemstones, rock hounding, and it's more so centered the mysteries of the early peopling of North America. Who was here making artifacts 60, 70,000 years ago that totally rewrite the timelines and models, especially destroying Clovis first. Now, because I do read a lot of the comments, one of the big things is there's a lot of people into the rocks and geology and stuff more than the artifacts. I think they go hand in hand when we're discussing material cultures. So I would like to make a few videos just focusing on a few really unique materials and minerals. And the one that we'll be talking about and focusing on in this video is something called Eclogite. And Eclogite is right down here. And these are all actual artifacts made from Eclogite. So we have a effigy piece here, this beautiful serpentine, greenish, reddish. It's got corundums. It could even have diamonds in it, this material. And the format of this video will be like a live video right now, and it'll go into like a narration, talking more in depth about Eclogite. And Eclogite is very, very unique. It's a metamorphic rock, and it contains garnet and a lot of sodium-rich materials and matrices. So you get a lot of pyroxene and kyanite, rudolite quartz, lawsonite, cosite, amphibolite, fingite, paragonite, zoisite, dolomite, corundum, and diamond. And the last two are kind of what we're interested in, the corundum and diamond. So what is this stuff? Why is it so mysterious? And where does it form? Well, let's talk about that a little bit here. Let's back out of the zoom here. So, the Eclogite, and let me get my little light out over here. I'm going to go way over here to get this light. We got a lot of corundum and sapphires. You can see the sapphire mixed into the schist right there. You got a lot of biotine, mica, and you can see how reflective it is and how shiny this material is. It shines in copper. It's got a lot of tin content. You got yellow corundum, very boxy forming. This is yellow sapphire. A big piece of bluish clear sapphire back here. Pad Paradasha style sapphire right there with some starring. This is most likely a ruby back here of some sort, but it could also be a type of what's the name of it? Feldspar. Pelagasted, I think it's called feldspar. And the feldspar comes in all kinds of colors, but it forms these real blocky like crystals within the matrix. So before we harden test that just by color, it looks very much like a ruby of some sort. But I have not tested that one. We get this tortoiseshell style sapphire here. And all this stuff is pretty clear to opaque. Once you get a gem light, you can start seeing into it. Got a beautiful color changing blue sapphire down there. Another beautiful piece of sapphire coming out of biotin, mica, and schist right there. Beautiful blue. And we get a lot of this stuff here where you get the schist, but you can see all of the gemstones within the schist right there. And this is some really, really beautiful clear sapphire in there, and you can see it. And back the light off and you can really see it. And pure aluminum oxide is crystal clear, and it forms in these pockets, and the aluminum gets heated up and oxygen, exposed to oxygen. But really, the star of the show is this Eclogite over here. And you can see the effigy pieces, like we have some kind of turtle or bird, some kind of wolf or dog or bear-like effigy. All these stones are a form of eclogite, and like I said, eclogite is a metamorphic stone that is associated with ancient oceans. That's what makes this stuff extremely interesting. And I'll show you right down here the extremely metamorphic rock that contains lots of pyroxenes. And pyroxenes are like these little speckled yellow and green crystals. They're actually matrices of salt. You can see them all speckled throughout the rock. And they can be green, give you a very serpentine appearance. But this sodium-rich metamorphic rock is associated with ancient thermal vents at the bottom of seas. And the stuff forms near where Kimberlite and the Gabro complexes come in. So oftentimes this type of stone down here, this eclogite, is associated with Gabro, another metamorphic igneous type rock. This stuff is a whole history lesson for geology, and we can really see how rubies will form in this, which is the cool thing I want to show you. On this side, we can see all of the little corundums and rubies within the crystal matrix down there. You can see them all. That's all the rubies mixed in. And this stuff contains lots of garnet as well. The garnet is the green striping up in here. And you can really see all those garnets and different gemstones popping out of this mysterious eclogite. Well, it's obvious when we have some sapphires because of the matrices that they're in and the shapes that they're in. So I brought some different rocks out. They're not all sapphire. And then we also have, this is Wissahickon schist. And Wissahickon schist is beautiful. All those little tiny black little crystals, dark black reddish crystals, are all garnet complexes within the rich metal containing schists of the Wissahickon and Huntington Valley areas in Pennsylvania. And we find this stuff, all this type of mica and all this is also associated with these ancient spiritual ritual sites. Now this eclogite was maybe picked for its color. The Native Americans love the color red. Some of it is green. But these are all artifact pairs. Some of them had pigment added, like this red has been enhanced by pigment, but it's a Celt. See how they kind of went white on one side, black, and then red on the other? So we have a Celt that was left with this other piece. These two pieces were found together. This Celt back here and this long pick, and you can even still see the cutting edge on the tool down below. You can see the angle on the edge part of the pick there. You have a Celt here, it's striped in red, but all this is eclogite and this crazy metamorphic rock. And if you find a lot of this in your area, you know that there was ancient oceans. And you've seen a lot of other videos. I've got tons of coral fossils in the area of little fish from an ancient Cambriatic sea 250 million some years ago. That was over top of the creek where we find this stuff in ancient hundreds of millions of years ago times. So really the cool thing about this mineral that contains all kinds of pyroxenes, it contains diamond, it contains quartzes, it contains tons of sodium, but it's been heated at extremely high temperatures and pressures. And when you find this in the area, you know the geology is associated with old seabeds with thermal activity, or the plate tectonic activity beneath or around the presence of these thermal vents. And we still have these hot pools and thermal pools throughout the Pennypack, and they're worshipped by ancient people just by them leaving artifact pairs. We have like a Celt made out of this crazy eclogite serpentine. You can see all the peroxides in there. all the different salt-based crystals. And then we see this perfect little, it's a plume. It's used for smoothing stuff out, mostly wood. But this was found with this, and they both have matching striping on them. These two, boom, boom. This Celt here, down here with the red line, was found with this other one that is red all over and painted. So these are all found in pairs at crossing points, where a lot of these thermal vents still linger today. But we just got lots of beautiful semi-precious gemstones and minerals. And these minerals aren't only pretty, but they can tell you unique history about the geology. Especially if all you see is a creek and woods, and you find this, you know, a couple 100 million years ago, you're standing where a seafloor once was. You're underwater. It's just crazy to think, but anyways, y'all please subscribe, please like the video, please share, and this will kind of, you can join me for a walk in the woods. That's going to be the little transition into the more of the slideshow style. It's going to be a mixture of formats, this video. But anyways, I love you all. Please subscribe. The channel is doing great. If you're really feeling generous, we have a super thanks button. You can send us a cup of coffee or donation to keep this type of work and research going. You can also become a channel member. I have audiobooks that are exclusive on the member only site, and yeah, it starts at $1.99 a month if you want to check that out, by all means. But the biggest thing you can do to support Happy Lost Souls channel is be a subscriber and hit the like button. And even if you don't do any of those things, I still love you anyways. Anyway, thank you all. Please subscribe and stay tuned for a little walk through an ancient growth forest. And this original growth forest that we're walking through, the pines. But these are sections of the Pennypack, and you can really feel that, God, it's a visceral response. It's primeval, the woods back there. It's like a part of time was forgotten. Massive trees that are hundreds of years. It's just a very, very ambience, a very weird feeling the place will give you. So anyways, let's continue the video on Eclogite. And if you want to keep watching, it's going to transition to me in the woods now, so enjoy that. And pretty soon a narration about Eclogite will kick in and some images. Anyways, I love you all. Please subscribe. Please stay tuned. Stay happy. Stay lost. And even if you're lost, stay happy, I should say. But anyways, I love you all. Thank you so much, and peace out. Stay safe. This is gold sheen or blue sheen sapphire. So it's sapphire that has like a coating of biotine mica running throughout it, so you get the sheen effect. But you can see the very matrices of the different sapphire and corundum. You get a lot of blue because there's a lot of titanium mixed into the aluminum-rich clays that got heated up. Titanium give you blue sapphire. Yellow sapphire is iron, sulfur, hematite get mixed in. Iron, chromate, or lead are the things that will make a red sapphire or ruby. And if there's hardly any contamination in the metal, you get these big pieces of almost clear sapphire. But you can see this one is beautiful. It's in that matrix still. You can really see the faceting in the matrix of this rough blue sapphire here. You can see it's very barrel shaped. Anyways, stay tuned, and I love you all. Peace. Please subscribe. Hey, all you happy lost souls. How are y'all doing out there? First things first, if you're new to the channel, please hit the subscribe button. And A thumbs up always helps. Comments are always welcome. This is a very open place. The channel talks about all kinds of things: gemstone identification, ancient artifacts, these crazy discoveries found in my little area of Pennsylvania that kind of can rewrite archaeological history. But I digress a little bit. The point of the next series of videos that I'll be releasing is to mainly focus on the geology. After going through comments, I see a lot of people love the ancient archaeology type stuff and the mysteries of the peopling of North America and so on. But there's a ton of interest in rock hounding, geology, gemstone identification, mineral identification. And my background is in archaeology, anthropology, and geology. Now, disclaimer, I am not a certified geologist. I have a background, I'm college trained in it. All my labs are in geology, stone tool design. And I had the privilege of studying in one of the most unique geological areas. And believe it or not, this area is right outside and surrounding Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, in the southeastern area of Pennsylvania. You're dealing with an continent way back, undetermined, 500,000 years ago, some point, the remnants of a continent or the formation of a continent not known to us occurred. And as that continent broke down, and that's where all this aluminum comes from that we find in my area. That's kind of what it tells you a bit. It's a clue. Also, with all the tectonics and metamorphic upticks, which we call this in geology mountain building activity, the conditions come together. Not to mention the whole area was once covered 250 million years ago by an ocean that had massive geological activity occurring underneath, which forms all kinds of different cool metamorphic minerals and whatnot. It's very tricky. It can get very complicated. Some of the words, some of the minerals, the names will tongue tie you. So I decided to kind of break this down by individual specimen that we're going to talk about in each video. This particular video is going to discuss Eclogite, which is a really rare metamorphic stone. I only have a few examples, and the best examples were carved into these effigies of a turtle and a bear, or a bear and a hawk or something. They're effigies. They were left as a pair, deposited near a hot spring. But let's not talk about the artifactual significance. Let's talk about the geological significance. Eclogite is not the most common metamorphic rock. It's very rare, and it can tell us a lot about the area. What is Eclogite? It's mainly consists of a lot of garnet, pyroxene, with a very, very high salt content, sodium content within the pyroxene. It can contain various minerals depending on its subjection to pressure and changing seawater temperatures on the bottom. Essentially, what's happening is a very dense portion of the mantle, this gooey, plasticized rock that is ultra hot, bubbles up and gets pushed up into the bottom of the seafloor, being exposed to different temperatures of water, which create all kinds of things within the eclogite and the mineralization. You can find diamonds sometimes in them. In my examples, there's garnets and corundum or rubies running through parts of it. It can get mixed up sometimes with olivine and these different green pyroxenes that run through both materials, but eclogite is very rare, and it generally means that you're dealing with ancient oceans as well. Now, they chose this beautiful stone because of its appearance. It's also not too hard to shape, since it is technically a conglomerate or multiple minerals that were heated and transformed into different forms of those minerals and then smushed together to form what we know as eclogite. And it'll always have these swirling reds and greens, and it'll be speckled with dark garnets a lot of times. Be careful, some of the real bright red rock in that is going to be most likely aluminum oxide or rubies. But eclogite tells us something. It tells us that we could find a whole other host of things. But honestly, what you're looking for is metamorphic upticks, especially when you're hunting for gemstone. Most of your unique gemstones form in some sort of metamorphic process or metamorphic rock, like micas and schists and gneisses and granites and things like that. Depending on the gradient of the uptick and the gradient of the metamorphic process, depending on how dynamic the process was, how hot and cold, and how the pressures varied over time on these schist deposits, which contain, at least in my area around Philadelphia, it's known as Wissahickon schist. It contains an exuberant amount of aluminum, and rubies and sapphires are aluminum oxide. Well, the schist also grows garnets off of it, so it's a garnet type schist or garnet mica schist, and it'll have very low amount. It'll have some quartz in it, but not in high amounts. Feldspar, not in high amounts. It'll have something called Nepheline Syenite, as well as muscovite, biotite. These are all forms of mica that are found within schists. Now, eclogite is a metamorphic rock, but not schist. It's found in some of the deepest metamorphic bands, and is usually associated with thermal activity on the bottom of an ancient ocean, or this material has a much higher chance of forming around thermal vents on the bottom of a seafloor. And since there was no oceans in my area for a couple 100 million years, well, that's how far back that rock goes. And really, in my whole area, there are so many different variations of possibilities of gemstones. If you add a little beryllium in the right conditions to the mixture of aluminum oxide, you could get really rare minerals like muscovite, taphitite, which both refract light twice in two different refractions. These are two of the most valuable and rare gemstones in the world, muscovite and taphitite, which are very similar. And they're similar to a cyclosilicate, and that's a big difference between what a green sapphire is and an emerald is. A green sapphire is aluminum oxide that was subjected to different trace metals to turn it green. They're found in Australia, Montana a lot. I've slightly green sapphires, and really what it is, it's blue and yellow that are so tightly banded together that the overlapping spectrums of the blue and yellow make the light appear green as it goes through it. Whereas an emerald is a cyclosilicate, meaning it's a silicate of beryllium and aluminum. So it's not an oxide. It's the aluminum and the beryllium being mixed together with silicates. And what this creates is a green beryl or an emerald. It's a mineral of beryl, and an emerald is probably only about 7.5 to 8 on the Mohs scale, where a sapphire is 9, sometimes higher, sometimes lower, depending on what other minerals and processes it was in contact with during its formation. But anyway, I just wanted to put up a quick video about Eclogite, and if you see this red and green and tan swirling blotched rock with all kinds of cool mineralization in it, know that if you find enough of it in the area, you're dealing with an ancient seafloor that was near a thermal vent hundreds of millions of years ago to form this stuff. And this stuff can have diamond in it, it can have corundum in it. With the chromium content, you're usually going to get rubies, or a rubified appearance with whatever aluminum oxide comes out of that. But anyways, this is Eclogite, and go look it up, go do some research about it. If you find this stone, look out for some gemstones, because Eclogite forms near Kimberlite pipes, and these Kimberlite pipes hang out around these volcanic vents on the bottom of the seafloor, and they can be encrusted with diamonds, but mainly you'll get a lot of yellow and green crystal through it, which is pyroxene. And then if you get a really light red, or like a blood red but transparent, fluorescent, reactive to fluorescent lights, if you get a bunch of little crystals like that, and then you have rubies in there, if the crystals are darker, then you have garnets. But anyways, I love you all. Stay safe, and if you're lost, stay happy. And if you can, please subscribe. I do have some merchandise too. All of the art, or most of all of the art in my videos, is all original and has been transformed into all kinds of things like t-shirts and mugs, so go check that out. You can find the link for that in the community tab, as I have not linked my online store to my channel yet. And the channel has just become monetized. All of your support is cherished and greatly appreciated, and moving forward I can bring more information, and as the channel begins to make actual money, a portion of this is going to be donated to helping keep our world supply of water good. And I have to see what kind of area I would like to invest in. I don't like giving money to a lot of nonprofits and charities, because I feel like a 1 little percent of your money, 0.01%, goes to what you're actually donating it to, and the other 99.99% goes to pad the pockets of the board members of whatever nonprofit you're dealing with. So I'd probably go right to like this state and give a donation, and make sure I could see through, or maybe even fund my own project, and that I get permission to help clean water or recycle water. And there's all kinds of cool things out there that I'll have a separate video on, about different people throughout time that engineered water, different scientists and different discoveries, how to clean water, different devices made throughout time. It'll be an interesting video. But anyways, we're going to do a series of these videos talking about a mineral or a type of stone or each time, and how it forms, where it forms, what to look for. The area that I'm from, the geology is so rich and extensive and ever changing and dynamic. There are walls and walls of Mycenaean gneiss, of this gneiss banding. It looks like giant accordions of stone, different melted stone that got heated and smushed together and formed these giant layered bands. And gneiss is formed under extremely high temperatures like granite and pressure, so you can find a lot more higher value gemstones around large gneiss deposits. In fact, the gneiss and the metamorphic uptick with sickened schist in the area yeah, well, I digress, but with all the metamorphic processes within that schist, you're going to get all kinds of gemstones. I kind of got off on a tangent a little bit there, but anyways, I love you all. I lost my train of thought. That'll happen sometimes. Like I don't use a lot of AI, no AI really at all. I don't use any AI except for like photo, not enhancement, but if I want to, do some graphic design on certain pieces of art I made, I'll use it. But anyway, the mineral of the day is Eclogite. Go look it up. It's very, very cool looking stone. Obviously, the ones you've seen in this video were artifactual in two of the cases. Actually, 4 of the cases, since we included the axe and the little I guess you would call it it's a gouge or a honing stone or sharpening stone that's made out of the same rock. Again, left in a pair. But anyway, that what I was getting at when I kind of went off in that tangent was that Miocene gneiss and those upticks expose some of the oldest stone in the world, 4 billion years old. There's other places in Canada, I think Scotland, that also have these banded gneiss layers and metamorphic layers exposed. And that's some of the oldest rock in the world. Very fascinating. Anyways, guys, please subscribe. I love you all. Stay safe.